Welcome to the Host Planet Playbook, your go-to guide for mastering short-term rentals. In this special series, we're sitting down with 30 of the world's top property managers to uncover what really drives success in the vacation rental industry. You'll hear their stories, learn the key lessons they've picked up along the way, and discover the game-changing tech they use to deliver 5-star guest experiences. If you're serious about growing your STR business, you're in the right place. We've also developed an ebook featuring the stories of every manager in this series, and you can download it for free. Head to hostplanet.club to find out more. In today's episode, we're chatting to Jeremy Rosen from San Antonio in Texas. Jeremy's a full-time nurse who also manages 20 properties. Stand by for a deep dive into building a great team, robust processes, and always going the extra mile to achieve that all-important 5-star review. This special series is brought to you by Host Planet and Hospitable, the smart AI-powered property management software trusted by hosts worldwide. With Hospitable, you can automate guest messaging, sync calendars across platforms, and manage your rentals with ease, all from one powerful, easy-to-use platform. If you're keen to run your short-term rental on autopilot, try Hospitable today. Visit hospitable.com/hostplanet to see how the platform can save you time, reduce stress, and maximize your earnings. Jeremy, thank you for being part of the Host Planet Playbook. Let's start with you. Where are you located and how many rentals do you manage?
Yeah, great, James. Thanks for having me on the podcast. I'm here in San Antonio, Texas, bright and sunny right now. I'm currently managing about 20 properties here in the downtown San Antonio area.
So tell us, how did you get started in short-term rentals?
Yeah, so a little backstory about me. I'm still a full-time nurse. I work in the Veterans Administration still. And right around the turn of the pandemic, that was obviously a difficult time to be working in healthcare. It was not fun, to say the least. And I'd already been thinking, just with financial management and everything, of ways to kind of improve and make more money and have some different forms of income. And real estate was always something you hear about, all the millionaires and billionaires, they're all invested in real estate. So figured out, there's got to be a way for me to do something with this too and get into this game as well. So joined a couple masterminds, was mentored by some great people, and ultimately decided that purchasing real estate wasn't in the cards for me at that moment. Just purchased my personal home. But what could I do? And I, being in healthcare, it's kind of hospitality, except your guests are sick and they're patients. So a lot of transferable skills there. My mentor kind of urged me to go into short-term rentals and kind of manage that. So that's kind of where things got started. Started managing a property for my mentor just to kind of get the reps and everything. And that's kind of how I got into the game and realized that I loved it, enjoyed getting the 5-star reviews and hearing how much fun everyone's having at our properties.
Amazing. So how do you balance the two? How do you balance nursing and hosting?
Yeah, some people will say that there really is no balance, but I've worked really hard to create a balance. I've got my family, I've got a son. I didn't want this to become something that was going to, take up all of my time. So, really focused on when the time was right, building a team. Now I'm up to 2 full-time local assistants that are doing pretty much 95% of the day-to-day boots on the ground type of things. I joke that there's still one property that I've never actually visited, and it's very close to my house. I just don't need to be the one visiting. And then I do have 2 virtual assistants as well. So I've worked really hard to make it so that problems that only I can solve are what come to me, and that I've empowered my team and trained my team to kind of take on all the other day-to-day things that they can do for me. Just because I knew that it wasn't going to be sustainable for me to be a one-man show. There's inevitably going to be something that I couldn't do because I was at the hospital. So needed to have some people that could do that for me.
Talk to us about scaling. How did you grow so quickly to 20 properties?
Yeah, I was really stuck at four properties for the longest time. Um, it was only after I put some pieces together that I had worked on separately that things started to really blow up. Being a full-time nurse, having a family, I really haven't done a lot of outbound to go after certain properties. But a couple of years ago, I joined the Short Term Rental Secrets Mastermind, Mike Sjogren's mastermind. And it really helped me see all the different pieces that I had already. You know, I had a website, I had, uh, systems in some properties, but I didn't have kind of the glue that put it all together. So, um, really quickly, I created a Google My Business page, linked it up to my website, and started getting lots of organic leads. Really spent a lot of time working on getting some good 5-star reviews on my Google page. And that ultimately, I believe, is what really kind of got people to see me and did that. But of course, doing great service for my clients has really helped because they've referred 3 or 4 different properties to me. Um, and obviously, providing value to the community with Facebook groups and whatnot has really been great too, because people have been referring other people to me. Like when they've decided to close shop, they're like, well, here's a great operator that you should go with. So, being seen and being known as a expert in the field locally has really been helpful, but also being able to be seen with Google and organic search has really been helpful too.
I'm sure you'll be an inspiration to so many people out there who have got full time jobs but want to get involved in hosting. So, if somebody comes to you and says, Jeremy, I basically want to do what you're doing, what would your tips be to them?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's obviously about learning, just learning everything you can at first, but really just, I started off, to be honest, with arbitrage. So I was trying to find a way to get the reps in and to show that I could do this, to have some proof of concept for when I went after other people. So I did go with arbitrage. It's obviously not the best for the average person. You really have to know your numbers. You really have to know the market, and not just take anything that comes your way. So you really have to be knowledgeable about that. But that's what I did. I did a great job. I had a 3-year lease. I just finished it up, and it really uh, I was able to do it my way and the right way, so I could show future clients like this is what it takes to be successful. You have to have this quality of design, furnishing, things like that, and have a proof of concept of just what I was able to do. Um, Other than that, I recommend, meeting a mentor, finding someone that can kind of teach you the ropes, teach you the day to day, kind of help you stumble a little bit faster, fail forward so that you can, make fewer mistakes because you've learned kind of from them. So I've been blessed that I had, those opportunities and some great mentors that saw potential in me without having any experience and took me on. And, they're still great friends, and I'm in business with them still, kind of working on some things internally. So you find the right people and put those in your circle, and it'll bear fruit for your whole career.
Fantastic advice. Yeah. So, tell us about San Antonio in Texas. What are the unique challenges in your market?
San Antonio is a great market. Much like most large cities, it's the seventh largest city in the country. So, much like most large cities, there's a lot of competition. People see that, oh, big city must be, a great place to invest, but you have to still do a great job. I tell my clients, that come to me, that aren't interested in doing too much to their home. I'm like, well, we're not going to be a fit because the masses in San Antonio are average, and all they can compete on is price. So it's a race to the bottom. So, you really have to know the market here is pretty mature as far as the vacation market goes. I personally wouldn't view San Antonio as a vacation market, but there are plenty of people that do. We obviously have the Alamo. We have lots of history. We have SeaWorld, Six Flags, like a lot of different reasons that people would come, but also a huge convention center. People come for conventions all over the country. So there's a lot to come to San Antonio for, and it's been a great market, and we've been doing really, really well, especially having higher end properties that people want to spend a little bit more money for. Um, and you get those higher quality guests that way as well. So everything's been working out well here. I mean, honestly, the biggest things here are much, not unlike a lot of other places. There's pool issues. You got to keep the pools clean, and there's air conditioning issues. If the air conditioning goes out in San Antonio, it's a problem. So, we really do a lot to see problems and think about what problems could pop up ahead of time so that we're prepared for those. So we do regular maintenance on the HVACs. We have our pool people come and they're available pretty much if we need them, around the clock, if we have a background thing though.
So, how does your hosting style help you stand out? What are your kind of like unique offering to your clients?
Yeah, we really put a lot of emphasis on automation. So one of the most important things that we've done recently is we've integrated with a system called Happy Guest. One of the things that most owners are going to be worried about are parties, damage, maintenance, things like that. So one of the things that we really wanted to focus on was making sure that we could show them that we were taking all of those things seriously. Happy Guest, it's a free tool for hosts. It allows us to collect IDs, have a damage waiver paid for, either with a damage waiver that the guest purchases or a security deposit or a credit card hold, excuse me, and a signed rental agreement. We have all those things. A guest doesn't even get the check-in instructions until those things have been satisfied. So we've implemented that, and it's gone really, really well for us because the owners know that we have all these things. We're protected in the case of damage. We don't have to rely on Airbnb air cover. And we have, a great way to get things replaced and not have it come out of the owner's pocket. So that's one of the things that we really focus on is just making sure that the owner knows that we take their home and owning it as seriously as they do. Um, but also just focusing on the pricing strategy because a good pricing strategy will ensure that you're getting higher quality guests. It's counterintuitive, but it seems to me that the better of a price that somebody gets, the more expectations they have. So if they paid and got dirt cheap rental, they generally are a little bit more price conscious. And so if one thing goes wrong, it's like this was a terrible stay and it wasn't worth anything. Whereas people that can afford a little bit more, they're a little bit more able to let things slide if a small minor thing goes wrong, as long as, and this is one of the things that we're really good at, we provide from the time the guest checks in excellent support. It's not like, oop, got your money. Sorry about it. We go above and beyond. That's one of our core values is A plus effort. If a guest has any issue, it's like the world is falling apart to us. Like we want to take care of it. We want them to know that we're willing to bend over backwards to take care of it, even for the slightest thing. And a lot of times we'll be able to save a bad review and still get a 5-star review because we did that. Um, One example is we recently had to move a guest because suddenly there was a leak in the ceiling. Like we were awake, they called us in the middle of the night, we took care of it, we moved them to a new property, and they were ecstatic. I mean, they got a little bit of an upgrade as well, but glowing 5-star review from them and for my Google page as well, just because they knew that we cared and it wasn't just gonna, put them out to dry at that point.
Yeah, one of our guests recently said, never waste a good crisis. And I think
Yep,
this is a good example in
I
the
love that.
short-term rental world. You can really turn things around and secure that glowing review and repeat booker. So you mentioned the amazing service there. How else do you deliver a outstanding guest experience?
So we try to learn a little bit about what the guests are coming for. Back before Airbnb changed their system, we used to have a Google form that we would have guests fill out, and one of the questions was, "What are you coming for?" So if we ever hear that someone's coming for something, especially here in San Antonio, it's Military City, USA. We have multiple military bases, and every week there's a graduation at one of the bases for the Air Force. So we have a few properties that we know people generally are coming for because they're midweek stays. So we tailor our messaging. We even provide a a document that gives them some insider knowledge about how to make the most of their experience there, because getting onto a base is difficult and tedious, and knowing which gate to go through and where to be and where to sit. So guests really love that we can give them that insider knowledge, because one of my staff members is former Air Force. But if we ever hear of another reason, that people are coming for, we try to really tailor the messaging to that, and it shows that we care and that we're actually paying attention. Um, on extreme cases, we'll go ahead and actually leave a gift for them. Generally, data shows that that doesn't really improve your chances of getting a 5-star review, but in some cases, we want to go above and beyond for special occasions.
You mentioned there, like a lot of your processes are very automated, and you've obviously got
Mhm.
the staff who are delivering, most of the interaction with guests and the virtual assistants and stuff. How did you go about training your staff and making sure that everybody's aligned in the way that you want to do business?
Yeah, that was a big fear of mine. When you're used to doing it your way, and how you want it done, it's a leap of faith when you're hiring somebody to do that. But ultimately, it's about showing them the cadence of our messages and explaining to them that the most important thing is the guest experience and how important their job is to accomplishing that. Um, it's important, even though these people are in the Philippines, that they know that they're important to me here in Texas. They're important to our guests here in Texas, and that they're not just some faceless person that I'm paying every 2 weeks. You know what I mean? Like they're part of the team, just like if they live next door, and came into an office to see me. So, making sure that they understand what the end goal is has been really important to me. One of the things I obsess over is my staff's experience working with me, working with us, the guest experience, my owner's experience, and my staff's experience. Those are the three things that I, as the owner, obsess over, because those are the things that I feel like are high level that I can really handle and take care of for my people. So, ultimately, if they believe, and they believe in our core values, and they focus on our core values with everything that they do, ultimately that's gonna lead to a great experience for our guests. And if not, then there's a system or a process that we can look at and change. Another one of our core values is correct the process, not the person. It's not the person's fault. There's some system or process that we can improve to fix it and make it better, and make it work out, for our guests. So ultimately, making sure that they understand the goal and that they're a very integral part of it, and just making sure that they understand that, or make sure that and know that 80% done like me is better than like 100% me going crazy, and feeling like I'm failing everything.
I think that's a brilliant approach. What's your biggest lesson learned since becoming a property manager?
I think quickly it was the concept of who, not how. Um, Knowing that I'm only one person and I'm trying to grow a business. And quickly, when I went from 4 to, I think, 8 or 9 almost overnight, it quickly was a who, not how thing, because I couldn't do it on my own. I couldn't onboard these properties. There's only so many websites I'm allowed to visit at work, because it's a government facility. So, I mean, there's only so many things you can do from your phone. So, it quickly became a who, not how. Who can I use here locally to help get these processes? And that then led to me developing other systems. So actually building out an onboarding process that, my local team can take on and know the steps. Okay. We've got the signed contract. What's next? And they can follow that process. So ultimately, who, not how was one of the most important things I learned, because if you want to go far, you can't do it alone.
What do you love most about your work?
It still is the guest experience. I've talked to a lot of hosts that they quickly become kind of disenchanted with the guest side of things, and they just want to grow the business. But I still really love, hearing that they're having a great experience. And I get really jazzed up when we fix a problem for a guest and get that 5-star review, because you're nervous. Like, did we do it all right? Did we solve their problem, to their, how much they wanted us to solve it, and whatnot. And ultimately, when we hear how pleased they were with our service and our attention to them, it really is very satisfying. But also hearing the wins every week from my team on our weekly call, hearing how working for me has enabled them to accomplish some of their personal goals or accomplish some of their professional goals even. Because I mean, I don't ever want to say we're a family, because that's totally a cliche and not true. But while they're working for me, like, they're as close to being family as possible. I want to see them succeed personally, professionally. We're working and talking about, goals that they want to achieve that are even outside of this business that potentially I could help them with, if it's financially, if it's through time, extra time off, or whatnot. So, you know, I really, put that emphasis on the team, and making sure that, they're happy with everything.
Fulfilling experience all round. Okay, then, Jeremy, we've got a few quickfire questions now. So,
Okay.
which PMS do you use?
Hospitable from day one and going forward.
You've talked actually quite a lot about running your rentals on autopilot, and I know this is what Hospitable focus on. So it sounds like they've probably
Absolutely.
helped you a lot by being a full-time nurse and still
Oh yeah.
still running the rentals. Uh,
Hospitable's been great.
which dynamic pricing tool do you use?
I use Price Labs, and I have a dedicated revenue manager who is the nerd and does all that. Because again, who not how? I do not have the time for that.
Which piece of tech couldn't you live without?
Hospitable. Yeah, it's the engine.
Allowing pets, yes or no?
It really is an owner designated thing. If they don't want it, I'm not going to push it. But there are some cases where the revenue speaks for itself, and I'm able to share that with them, and they can make a decision based on that.
Ideally, a hot tub, yes or no?
Yes, yes. You can have a hot tub. In San Antonio, it doesn't really move the needle as much as having a pool also, because it is hot. But a hot tub is still a nice amenity that people like.
Ideally, from you, a self check-in or a personal welcome?
Oh, self check-in. Yeah, self check-in.
A telephone call or an AI response?
Um, I'm working on AI response. I've been diving into that a lot, but for the sake of quickfire, I'll say AI, because I don't want to be getting the phone calls, and I'm working on getting my team taking phone calls.
And your most memorable hosting moment?
My most memorable hosting moment. You know, honestly, I'll take it back to the very beginning. Um, it's a series of things that kind of came together to get me to where I am today. The first being hearing a podcast with the person who became my mentor from the very beginning, and just picking up the phone and calling him, and just telling him what I want to do and how I felt like we were aligned and how I felt like he could help me. So ultimately, it was that, and then him taking me on, and then me just going and believing in myself and going forward, and making things happen for myself. So, you know, I think going back to the beginning and the realization that I could do this, and it coming together now has really been great.
And taking that first step, making that phone call and getting on with
Absolutely.
it. Shout out then, is there an individual in the STR industry who's helped you that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, first and foremost, Lucas Piper, my mentor from the beginning. He has a great shop up in Austin, Texas, and does great here in San Antonio as well. But also Mike Shogren, his mastermind, the Short Term Rental Secrets Mastermind, has been super important to getting me to where I am today, and just learning the things I didn't know. So shout out to them.
Awesome shout outs there. Questions finished then. Ultimate goal for your STR business?
Yeah, ultimate goal is to keep growing into large homes, pools, and experiential amenities. Here in San Antonio, it's very much so driven by those experiential amenities. We have some properties that have bowling alleys, putt putt, and of course, we can charge more for those, which then brings more business into the company as well. So growing with the right properties, growing with the right owners as well, because not every owner is a fit. And also continuing to provide value to the community, because ultimately, you can only go so far with the knowledge you're able to get. But if someone is helping you along, answering simple questions or deeper questions, you're able to kind of grow and do better in your own business, which helps the overall market here in San Antonio. So continuing to provide value and do what I can to help.
Superb. Jeremy, thank you so much for sharing your story and for being part
Yeah,
of the Host Planet Playbook.
absolutely. Thanks, James. Appreciate it.
All right, that's it for today's episode. My thanks to Jeremy for sharing his journey and for being part of the Host Planet Playbook. Remember, this series is brought to you in partnership with Hospitable, the all-in-one property management software designed to save you time and help your business thrive. Hospitable automates your guest messaging, syncs your calendars across platforms, handles team tasks, and so much more, so you can focus on delivering a top-notch guest experience or just get some of your time back. And here's the good news. Host Planet Playbook listeners get an exclusive 14-day free trial plus 25% off for the first 3 months. Head to hospitable.com/hostplanet to claim your offer and start running your rentals on autopilot. For more free education for vacation rental hosts, head to hostplanet.club, where you can sign up for our newsletter, listen to our podcasts, and download our suite of ebooks. Until next time, happy hosting.